Hello everyone, in this clip we are going to talk about crowd control. Crowd control, or as it is usually shortened CC, is a common term used in League of Legends to classify the spells and abilities that decrease or outright remove the other player's ability to control their champion. This includes slowing their movement speed, silencing their spells and abilities, just locking them in place with a stun, and other kinds of it, all of which we are going to review today. Because CC affects the champion's combat capabilities, crowd control spells have a special class, different from common debuffs. We will not talk about the so-called self-crowd control effects, such as Zhonya's Hourglass, and will only review the ones you can use against your opponents. There are many kinds of different crowd control mechanics, every one of which is unique. Most of them share an ability to be removed at once using the Cleanse Summoner spell, but the rest of their traits are unique and require some knowledge to know exactly how they work, how they are applied, and how to deal with them. All kinds of crowd control, aside from blind and attack speed slow, will count as a kill assist, even if they did not deal damage to the enemy. So the Veigar's stun or a slow from Nasus will bring you a kill assist. There are currently two main categories of crowd control in League of Legends: soft crowd control, which limits the champions partially, and hard crowd control, which completely locks the control over the champion. Let's review the hard crowd control first. The first one on our list is Airborne. A unit that is made airborne is moved in a specified direction or to a specific point. For the duration, the unit is also stunned and cannot move, attack, cast abilities, activate items, or use the summoner spells Flash and Teleport. Airborne interrupts all channeled and charged abilities, as well as Karthus or Anivia's ultimates, all dash abilities, and other airborne effects. Formally, the airborne effect is divided into two separate components: movement modifier called Move Block and a stun effect, which doesn't allow you to cast spells or use auto attacks. If two airborne statuses are applied consecutively, the target will inherit the Move Block from the last status applied. It's very easy to explain if we use Alistar's WQ combo as an example. His W applies the first Move Block by knocking the enemy back, but then is interrupted by his Q, resulting in the target only being knocked up into airborne without being knocked away. So there are four kinds of airborne crowd control. Knockback. The target is made airborne in a direction directly away from the point of the cast. Alistar's W, Puppy's E, or Vayne's Condemn Arrow, all of those are knockback crowd control sources. There are also monsters who can apply this kind of crowd control: Dragons and Baron Nashor. Knock aside. The target is made airborne in a direction perpendicular from the source. Draven's E, Corki's Package Flight, Vi and Talia's ultimates. Those are all knock aside abilities. Knock up. The target is made airborne on the spot. Alistar, Xin Zhao, Cho'Gath, those guys can knock you up using their Q abilities. And finally, pull. The target is made airborne in a direction toward the point of the cast, and in some cases over the point of the cast. Blitzcrank and Thresh are the best examples of that with their hooking spells, but Orianna's ultimate also falls under this category. The forced movement of airborne effects cannot be removed by cleansing effects. However, QSS, Battle Roar, Ragnarok, Remove Scurvy, and Unbreakable Will can be used to cleanse the stun part of the airborne effect. And if you do remove the stun effect during the airborne, you will be able to blink, dash, and even flash away from danger, even though you will still be mid-air. As you might have guessed, Airborne's main strength is that its duration cannot be lowered by tenacity. It could lower the duration of the stun component, but not the entire thing, which is why champions with airborne crowd control are so valued by the professional players and teams. However, in some cases the stun part of the airborne effect is longer than the knock-up, Sion's Q for example, but even with that, Sion is still top 1 in the current meta. You can protect your champion from getting knocked airborne by applying Morgana's Black Shield, Olaf's Ragnarok, Fiora's Riposte, or Malzahar's Void Shift. Stun component can be removed with QSS, Mikael's Crucible, Rengar's Battle Roar, Gangplank's Orange, and Alistar's Ultimate. The next type of hard crowd control we are going to cover will be stun. A stunned unit cannot move, auto-attack, cast spells, use their items, or use Flash and Teleport summoner spells. Stun cancels all channeled and charged abilities like Karthus, Shen, or Anivia's ultimate, and will also prevent Nar's hop from bouncing. Stun is one of the most common types of hard crowd control. Unlike with Airborne, a stunned champion can use their summoner spells, all but Flash and Teleport, and can cleanse the stun away using the items and abilities we listed before. The main disadvantage of this crowd control type is that its duration is easily reduced by tenacity. Champions with built-in tenacity can build items and choose runes to further increase their resistance, rendering themselves nearly immune to stuns. Moreover, dashes give a guaranteed immunity to crowd control during the jump, but the target will still get stunned in the end, if the duration isn't over by that time. Let's get to the next type of hard crowd control, suppression. A unit that is suppressed is unable to control its movement, declare attacks, cast abilities, activate items, or use any summoner spell for the duration. Suppression also cancels the casting of any spell. Suppression is considered the strongest crowd control in the game, because it can't be cleansed with cleansed summoner spell and its duration cannot be reduced by tenacity. Unlike with Airborne, suppressed target isn't afloat or knocked away, but is locked in a position and is vulnerable to attacks. Moreover, suppression spells usually last much longer than Airborne effects. Suppression can only be cleansed with QSS, Olaf's Ragnarok, Gangplank's Orange, and Alistair's Unbreakable Will. Fortunately, there are only a few champions in the game who have suppression as a part of their kit: Malzahar, Skarner, Tahm Kench, Urgot, and Warwick, just 5 of them. The next hard crowd control type is Forced Action, which is 3 types of control combined: Charm, Fear, and Taunt. They're all considered hard crowd control. When the champion is caught into one of these, they can still move, but the player is unable to control their movement. So let's talk about the traits those 3 share first, and then about their differences. All 3 cancel the casting and charging of spells. Tenacity lowers their duration, and they all can be resisted with the spells we are already familiar with: Ragnarok, Black Shield, Riposte, and Void Shift. But there is another spell we can add here, and it's Master Yi's Highlander, which lets you ignore the slowing part of Fear and Charm. Cleansing this type of control is pretty much the same to cleansing the stun. You can also use any summoner spell during their duration, aside from Flash and Teleport. So what are the differences? Let's start with the Charm. The difference is in the direction of the affected champion's movement. A unit that is charmed will move towards the source for the duration. Simply put, the charmed opponent will slowly move towards the caster. There are just 3 champions who have Charm as a part of their kit, and they are Ahri, Rakan, and Evelynn. It must be obvious that this type of control is really great at pulling the opponents away from their life-saving towers, securing the kill. Moving on, the Fear. A unit that is fleeing will move directly away from the source. Opposite to Charm, the feared opponent will flee away from the caster instead of moving towards him. Champions with Fear in their kits are Fiddlesticks, Hecarim, Warwick, Shaco, Urgot, and Nocturne. And finally, Taunt. A unit that is taunted will attempt to attack the source for the duration. Taunt is an improved version of Charm, but instead of getting slowed, the champion will try to hit the caster with auto attacks. There are just 3 champions with Taunt: Galio, Shen, and Rammus. So, that's all about hard crowd control in League of Legends. In the next video, we'll talk about root, snares, grounding, stasis, and several types of so-called soft crowd control.